Hi, I'm Paul speaking for Free Range Productions and Free Range with Gail of Gaia. Today's program, the third and final installment of a three-part series featuring Harald Kautz. Harald Kautz's scientific career has involved geology, physics, math, media management, and mass psychology. He's become one of the few surviving polymaths in our rationalized world. In 2012, he entered public awareness with a staggering scientific analysis of chemtrail-related fallout, identifying 3 generations of transhumanistic technologies meant to assimilate our nervous systems. From there, he got involved in medicine, trying to fix the damage done. Most of this damage is still mistaken today as old age and lifestyle disease. Apart from his hardcore scientific approach, he managed to connect the dots to the earliest mythologies, placing our modern drama within the frame of biblical deterioration from paradise, which according to his research marks the beginning of the transhumanistic experiment, aiming to transform our species into a sociopathic army of bio-robots. Through focus on his own spirituality, Mr. Kautz has managed to unite spirituality and science without losing himself in contradictions. And now please join Gail and I as we welcome Harald Kautz to Free Range with Gail of Gaia.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are. This is Gail of Gaia and Free Range, where we talk and graze on wild ideas and lots of other things as well. Anyway, I'm so happy to have with me today Harald Kautz. He is a scientist from Germany, and he has done a lot of work with the chemical analysis of chemtrails and many other things that I hope we get to talk about. So, Harald, say hi.
And, hi. Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whatever it is.
Yeah, because, well, you're out of Germany, so it's later there and it's early here. So
We were talking about cats.
Cats they have a personality of their own, that's for sure. They're different. They're very spiritual beings, I think.
Well, yes, cats are 4D. They have a much more complicated perception and wider perception of reality. They see the entire astral realm like real.
They actually have
Shama.
They kind of protect you too from
negativity
things in the 4D world. Yeah.
Mm. If you see a cat and a shaman working together, it's funny because they see the same things.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. Okay. Let's see. Well, that was absolutely fascinating talking about all that. I guess how did the Arks of the Covenant come in here? Where's that? Did we cover that?
Okay. Yeah. Yes. We kind of covered it.
Moses was the
high priest. Moses was the high priest of is it Echnaton? I think so. And when Echnaton went to war to defend the northern border, Moses stole the artifact from the Cheops pyramid, the Star of Destiny. And
that's what I wanted to bring.
Yeah. If you take the outer measures of the box of the Ark of the Covenant, it 100% fits into the sarcophagus in the king's chamber in the pyramid. And also the mythology, the story, how he got it. He climbed Mount Sinai, went to the top, talked to the Lord, and then he went down 1/3 of the way, entered a cave, and got the Ark out. If you replace that story back to Egypt, you climb the pyramid to the top, you talk to Satan in the black goo on the top of the pyramid, then you climb down 1/3, you come to the entrance to the point where you can access the king's chamber. And then you go in and you steal the Ark. So it's very likely that actually Moses took the Ark from Egypt, But of course, if you write your own history, you don't want to tell your children that you're a
Truth.
fucking thief. So
course.
you just misplace the entire story to no man's land in Sinai and say you got it from a mountain, which
Yeah.
is not really a lie, but halfway a lie. This is how it's done. Also, what is interesting, if you look at the sizes of the Ark of the Covenant and to the fact that it's described as a gold-plated acacia wood box, both size, wood type, and gold plating, and then compare it to the box of the Pandora, that also has measures that are in the literature, also is contained in an acacia wood box that is gold plated. You can gather some more intelligence about actually the quality of those things. If you look at the planetary consciousness, go to the biophysics of the planet, you have the spirit hosted by the black goo in the Earth ley line system, and the memory, the hard disk in a way, being embedded in the crystalline body of the planet. When a crystal forms, every layer is formed within a defined scalar potential. Universe expands, so the scalar potential is getting, with time, thinner and thinner and thinner, actually, because we expand. At the moment we expand, so it's getting less. So each layer of a crystal is entangled to a time quality. So this is how a growing crystal is writing a story. Every layer of a crystal writes one moment of the story. If you want to recall a story, your mind, your spirit, non-locally fuses, entangles to a crystal, goes through the layers and reads out the story. This is how nature does it. A pyramid contains black goo in the capstone, and a crystalline memory in the ark, in the
Is that
king's
alien
chamber.
black goo, or is that Gaia's
In
black
the pyramids, it's alien black goo. This is satanic black goo in the pyramids.
Okay.
The earth type always comes in tar form or in liquid form. The stone form, that is what the throne of the Queen of England is made from, for example.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yes, she's sitting on Satan's butt. No wonder she behaves like she behaves.
Oh my word. That's fascinating. Okay.
This form contained in meteorite material, in stone form, this is always satanic.
Oh, okay. You had once somebody, is it ingestible that way or no? Or is it just,
but
I've heard of people drinking black goo. That's why I'm asking. So
you can extract it from the stone.
Oh, okay.
Then it's ready-made to be utilized for quantum computers or black magic applications. So you can work the liquid out of the stone form if you want to use it as a liquid. And then it 100% resembles by appearance earth type black goo. You can't see a difference once it's liquefied again.
Well, no, I've been told that the alien black goo totally removes, this isn't the way they put it, but basically removes your heart chakra. You have no emotions left. Okay.
This is how it feels like, yes. From my first encounter, it turns you into a bloody asshole.
How do you get it out of your system? If you don't like this, how did you do that? How'd you get rid of it?
I was in dire straits. I just remembered the general principle of homeopathy to cure a disease with a signature of the disease. So I went to my medical partners, got a sample of that alien black goo, the satanic ones. We pulled the signature of the substance, imprinted it on globally, and I started to take the globally. And that luckily did work. And not only it did work, it also distangled my body from the feet up from the satanic consciousness. And then it kind of got stuck on neck level, so my head was the hardest to reconquer. Got stuck there for 3-4 hours, and then the process moved through. And the moment my head was freed again, I had my very first encounter with the spirit of Gaia,
Oh,
welcoming me back home. This was so beautiful. She appeared in the form of a black whale, diving through
giving me
me,
goosebumps. You're giving me
starting from
goosebumps.
from the feet through my, and she was huge, like a blue whale in size,
Uh-huh.
60 meter, whatever. And I could see her approaching from underground, diving into my direction. And then she dived through me, making every single DNA in my body ring like a bell. And
That's
just saying
beautiful.
hello and welcome
That's
back.
beautiful.
That was absolutely beautiful. And
Wow.
this connection afterwards never completely broke again. I can recall her if I need communication. And whenever I needed help in a way on my path and was whatever too proud to ask for help, she keeps popping up in my dreams or just throwing me over. It happened twice that I
Uh-huh.
just was thinking about lying down, sat on the edge of the bed, and then some stone fist came, knocked me over, and kicked me into a daydream status because she wanted to communicate with me about whatever helpful for my life. And
That
always presenting herself in that black whale signature on the picture
black
level.
whale. Oh, that's
Apparently the
awesome.
whales are the most advanced beings in her biosphere.
Uh-huh.
So she's taking the form of the most advanced beings.
The whales. Wow. The dolphins are probably next, right? I don't
They're
know their
quite
name.
close by
Quite
by
close, yeah.
intelligence and spiritual development. And there's one dolphin, it's the second time I'm reminded of that one dolphin story that is sad on the one hand, but says a lot about the divinity of the animal kingdom.
Hmm.
The Japanese fishermen,
It's very distracting,
they
Paul. Paul,
um,
it's distracting. Okay, thank you. Continue.
the
It's like,
the Japanese fishermen, they don't like the idea of the dolphins eating fish. So once a year they capture one dolphin, pull him into the basin of the harbor, take a knife, bring a deep wound into his belly, but keep him captured in the harbor. And then this dolphin, in pain, calls for help. And all the dolphins out in the ocean swim into the harbor. Then they block the harbor and slaughter them all. And for centuries or hundreds of years, this is a reappearing ritual done by the Japanese fishermen.
that's
And the
horrible.
dolphins are extremely intelligent and they have a good memory. And it is absolutely, and they communicate in an intensity and clarity over kilometers that is much more advanced language than ours. So there's no way they don't know what's going to happen. But they still decide
It's still like
to
loving to
answer that call
humanity.
for help because for them to not follow compassion by putting the mental field first would be the expulsion from paradise for their species. They know that basically degrading and overwriting compassion with a mental decision would turn their spiritual um, shape upside down in a way that would start to create um, um, something comparable to the expulsion from paradise. if you decide that feeling is not convenient, going through pain is not convenient, and instead you jump into mental constructs and build personalities to survive. This is the expulsion from paradise. If the dolphins wouldn't answer to that call, they would start a long history of falling from the divine for their species. And they know that. And instead of doing the same mistake we did, they prefer to swim into that basin and get slaughtered. This is the divinity of the animal kingdom. And when we tune into that decision and feel in compassion how and why they decide, and what, how to call that in English, dedication, what level of surrender to the beauty of the creation that acknowledges and honors every single aspect of emotional life. If you look at this surrendering, at this devotion, and at this patience with humanity, at this unconditional, non-judgmental love they express by doing this, we can understand where we need to develop into again, because we completely lost that.
Yes, we have. We definitely have. People don't even want to stand up for their God-given rights because they might get arrested or something like that. And that's
whatever's inconvenient. Yeah.
It's really not that horrible.
Yeah.
It's not fun, but I've been there. For something stupid.
I rather think about the pain that we need to go through when healing ourselves again. I don't give a damn about a demonstration or a political gesture or the form of self-organization of the society. It's completely unimportant. What we need to relearn is that going through pain is the way to heal things. And
emotional pain, is that what you're talking about?
Surrendering to that pain that needs to be felt on the way of healing is what we can pick from the dolphins.
Mm-hmm.
Just that we did that to ourselves as a species. We can't blame the humans being the bad ones, like they could, but they don't.
Yeah, they still, I mean, if they can communicate all with each other the way that they do, look at how they still treat humanity. They're always, they protect
they
them
don't
and they're
judge.
kind and they're, yeah.
They don't judge. In the Black Sea, there are clinics where pregnant women go to have their babies. And when it comes to labor, they go into the water of the Black Sea, and the dolphins sense that and come, and they accompany the ladies, and they use their sonar sound system to vibrate the babies through the birth channel. And
the dolphins
it's
do?
The dolphins. And it's a pain-free birth. The children have an average intelligence, an IQ of 175 because of that birth ritual. And whenever a woman steps in, one or two dolphins come because they love doing this as an act of love. This is how divine this species is.
Wow, I never heard that before. That's absolutely amazing. I wish I would have known about it.
You can do it in the Atlantic or in the Pacific. If you have dolphins around, you can do it. You don't need a dolphin hospital to that.
Oh, wow.
Do you remember?
Well, I'm well past that age anyway. But anyway.
Gail, do you remember that discussion we were having about the trauma of birth being the first almost
experience of
fracturing thing, the experience of a baby? We were talking about that just the other day.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It's fascinating. Yeah, and then with boys, then they chop off the foreskin too, frequently without any anyway.
Yes,
That's
this is a traumatization that does a number of things. It kills the trust in the beloved ones. This is kind of the first deep trauma. As a baby, you trust your parents, and then they allow something of that sort to be done to you at the most vulnerable point in your
I'm happy to
first
say my
days.
boys did not experience that. They probably got jabbed with a needle, but I didn't know how to stop that at the time.
Yeah. The trauma opens a gap that allows a spider demon to move in, to take control of the sexual chakra. This is why
Spider
Jewish men
demon?
are so excellent. A spider demon goes in. This is because the reason why Jewish men are considered to be excellent lovers,
I didn't know
but
that.
nobody wants to have them as a husband. Even the Jewish ladies complain because they are lovers. They are not husbands, because they are sexuality driven and not love driven. So basically, the spider entity, it's the spider type called Yabulon, the god of the Freemasons. If you look at the penetration of humanity by satanic entities, by archons, you have at the first place the snakes, the ones known from Paradise Garden, talking to Adam and Eve, also known as the Kundalini snake in the Indian tradition.
Mm-hmm.
They sit winding around the spine, bypassing the heart in the first and the seventh chakra. So they connect intuition uh, with the, not intuition, the base chakra, or the connection to instincts, to everything that is given to us as a species with the mind, bypassing the heart. They tap also into the second chakra, but not necessarily so intense. The second chakra and the sixth are traditionally occupied by spider demons. This is Yabulon, the god of Freemasonry. It's the one produced by Morgellon fruiting bodies. The Kundalini snakes are produced by rope worms, slime mold, parasites you find in autistic children. And the spider demons are produced by Morgellon fruiting bodies in heavy cases of Morgellon disease. They create hundreds of them every month. And they go out and look for a new host. And they sit in the second and the sixth chakra, controlling sexuality and clairvoyance. And
Controlling
then,
it.
not in everyone, you've got a third type of archon known as Tulhu. If you want to know how he looks like, the captain of Pirates of the Caribbean. It's the most famous picture, with his octopus face. It's a bit how they look. And they go to the third chakra. Mainly, I haven't seen them symmetry-wise in the fifth, but they might be there as well. And they actually are responsible for all sorts of addictions. I've seen them quite often in connection with cocaine and speed addiction.
Oh. Now, somebody told me, and I would like to know if you've ever heard this. Somebody told me that the THC in cannabis has a spider demon attached to it. Is there any truth to that?
No, I think this is wrong. What THC does, it alters the structure of the emotional body and makes entities visible. And sometimes, because entities gets visible, they panic and take over. When I was in that intense time of being in war with the black magic community, it was always kind of gambling with my life when I went out to conferences or lectures or seminars,
Yeah, I
because
believe that.
everybody around me was infected, and I try to keep myself clean from entities, because every entity that managed to get into my system instantly tried to kill me from inside out. So it was always kind of tricky to go out. And when I came back in home into the secured field, I used to smoke one joint when arriving to make sure that I see everything I brought home, if I brought home something.
Mm-hmm.
And because it was this war state, all of them immediately took over. And then after taking one or two draws from the joint, I immediately fainted, and the entity became visible in the rest of myself. And then we could work on myself from there, kind of finding out, how did it manage to get in? What was my mistake that I opened my system to allow it in? And this could be kind of minor things, like I remember one time I had a client for a personal healing session, and she had issues with the archons, and I could see a tiny little spider moving from her field into my direction. And then I lost sight of it. I didn't know whether it managed to get inside. The next healings I had like 6 sessions over 2 days, were extremely successful. I did miracles on my patients. Blind lady could see again. And I kind of was getting more and more into the state of realizing, wow, I did it. Now I'm the perfect healer. And then I visited my parents on the way back home and told them about all my successes, and they just looked kind of weird at me. And then I realized, okay, the way they look at me, something is wrong. And I just put a bookmark on myself. Okay, check yourself double when you get home. And when I got home, we realized, okay, there's a tiny little spider in my aura that apparently triggered me into this fake pride of being the best healer of the world. And then I tried to find out, how did it get in? And what I found out, that it was one of the first one-to-one sessions I did. And I was a little bit insecure. And I had a lot of theory to apply, how to interact with a one-to-one patient or client. So I split off part of my mind, put it aside to observe what I do, to judge if what I do is according to protocol or not. So I've been being judgmental towards myself. And being judgmental is not a divine quality. Even if I apply it for a good reason on myself, it's not in the divine order. And that little thing of being judgmental allowed the spider to attach, turning that self-criticism around inside me into complete arrogance. I'm perfect, once it got in. So it's easy to get entangled with those entities, because they can use every non-healed state of ours to attach to it.
Wow.
And we need to be quite advanced in spiritual self-healing and readjusting to the divine order to be vibrationally, trauma-wise, everything-wise out of their reach.
Well, you know what that reminds me of, what I'm thinking of is that I've heard, I don't know if it's true, but I've heard that, when they have these people as sex slaves and as any kind of slave, through human trafficking, child trafficking, you name it, whatever, that they will allow them to have any drug that they want except cannabis. Because, and Kathy O'Brien
Yeah,
came out and said
makes sense.
that it breaks the mind programming. And so does that make sense?
It isolates the entities, and also gets you out of your mind. Yeah.
Okay.
I've found that a lot of negative entities will gravitate toward healers, looking for healers that don't have their guard up, that they're kind of newbies and stuff. I have experience with quantum touch healing and with Reiki, and um, I could see that there were attachments that were attempting to reach me, and I think a couple of them did. And one of the first things that manifests is ego and pride and just filling yourself with, oh, I'm just the greatest healer ever. Bring on the next sick person, you know. And that's a very, very common theme. I'm really glad you brought that up.
I remember in 2000, was it 14? I was in England on a conference organized by, what's her name? A lady taking care of the UFO issues. What's her name? The most famous one. Anyways, doesn't matter. On that conference, there was a co-speaker that obviously was a Freemason, high-grade Freemason. And he kind of looked at me all the time, weirdly smiling. And when it came to my lecture, he played all sorts of energetic tricks on the audience, which I already knew from other visitors. You know, then they lie back, close their eyes, and suck all the energy out of the audience so that they can't listen anymore. And then when I was kind of finished and the audience could ask a number of questions, he tried to completely take over all the attention, pull it to his side, and distort the things I was talking about by applying a magic way of tuning into words. You know, if you ask a question, you pull the energy of the other one up, but you can also talk in a way that every single word starts high and goes down. And this is pushing people into an energetic abyss. And this was what he was applying to the audience while he was talking and questioning what I said. And I just sat there and couldn't stop smiling because I could see through all of his maneuvers. And I completely dissembled him in front of the audience. I told everybody what he just did and that I'm used to that every lecture of mine, I've got one of these fat assholes looking like falling asleep while I talk, and that I know this way of talking people into the energetic abyss and that it's not polite to steal energy in this way. And I just finished him off in front of the audience. And he still approached me in between the other lectures on the corridor, very friendly, telling me that I have a bright future in front of me. They are so fucking convinced that their means and ways of capturing, taking over, manipulating people into their dark agenda is 100% successful. That he just didn't care about this tiny little defeat on stage. He knew one of the demons will get me. And then, because I have potential, I will be a bright number in their circus.
Wow.
And they've been trying to take me over since then. The thing is, nothing worked till today. And I had really excellent offers. The Habsburg monarchy was offering me to be the financial pope of Europe, explaining everybody into the new monetary system to come. Good offer, you know, be the monetary messiah. That was the offer. And I just told him I don't want to see money in my future. Money is scarcity. I'm in for abundance. Go fuck yourself.
Good for you. Good for you.
And I had
they always
another
use that as
offer.
an enticement, don't they?
I had another offer from I have the feeling I shouldn't name them. One of the richest bloodlines available at the moment, and They knew that I have lots of contacts to very creative people that have potential to do good things. And they pretended that half of the bloodline regretted that they've been into monkey business and wanted to donor their share of the inheritance to good projects and wanted me to buy them in because nobody of my people would have trusted them coming from that bloodline. So they asked me to play the whatever trust making partner
The devil's advocate.
provide them, yeah, to provide them with funding for their projects. And we went into negotiation because, it might be interesting. But at a certain point, I said, the quality of those projects is that they do work in crisis conditions, which means the quality of a solution is a solution that works without money. And if we give them funding now, they will start to develop solutions that work with money and not solutions that work without money. And then the solution is completely with zero value for the crisis times to come. So it's a bad idea to give them money. If you want to help save mankind, leave them alone. Keep them isolated. Don't give them a cent, because then these good people, those beautiful spirits that have straight connection to the divine and come up with creative solutions, will find the right ones.
Because their way builds dependence on future funding, which always comes at a cost.
Yes, and then he when I refused doing that, he actually admitted that all he wanted is to have control over these people by being their donor and financier. It was all about control, and I already had said no, and I offered, and they were very humble when they addressed me. They said they really adore my spiritual access to things, and they want to learn from me how to do it right. It had beautiful moments. And after we didn't get into business, next morning I had one more coffee with them. And in the evening, my partner had to bring me back from the dead on that coffee.
Wow.
And it was pure luck, because if I would have just gone to bed, the coffee would have killed me. I've never seen a mortal drug so sophisticated like that one. Taking over my spiritual realm, pulling me into complete divine peace and calm space, like, wow, so beautiful to fall into this. And from outside, my girlfriend could just see that I stopped breathing. And she literally had to beat me back into life, because I was in the most comfortable space and stopped breathing.
Wow.
And
was that spiked coffee?
that was the
what?
last offer I had from
Wow.
the dark forces. And then I kind of understood why this Freemason in London was so confident to get me at some point. Because they have so much shit out there to buy people in with. And hardly anyone is so secure in his inner knowledge to be able to resist. What would you do? Somebody offers you 10 million to get all of your projects done, to save humanity.
It does sound very enticing.
It does something with people, and then it turns out whether you really have something to give, or whether you decide for the fake form of giving that creates codependencies, brings up wrong solutions.
Wow.
This is weird. This is really weird.
Well,
and it's all about the quality of responsibility. When you use money, you automatically step into the field of other responsibility. You pay somebody to do something he doesn't really want to do. You just control him. And if you don't feel how ugly this gets on the spot, you fall for it because it's easy. If you need to sit there to find a solution that is so wow that you just need to share it and everybody is applying it, it's a different story.
Wow.
And this is how, if you have money driving things, it's always about structure and hierarchy.
Yes.
And of course, cash flow.
Yes.
If you just have this one brilliant
money.
idea that sets you free and you share this idea in a way that it's replicable and doesn't lose quality when forwarded. This is all it needs at a certain point to create a bushfire that burned through society, like Christianity in the early days, burned through Africa, burned through Inner Asia, burned through Europe, because realizing that the divine is love and not control and fear. It was just an insight that was so uplifting that it went viral. And they had to invent the Catholic Church to force everybody to become a false Christian, to gain the power to destroy the Byzantine Empire that still was running on this original Christian spirituality, to put an end to this. And there we are close to the moment where something in that quality will pop up and burn through. And this is why I say we don't need to organize. We don't need to take control of society. We don't need to win anything against anyone. It's not about conflict. It's about one person finding that quality that is so beautiful, so divine, so inspiring, so infectious that it spreads like fire.
That would be so beautiful. I used to think that that's why I liked Ubuntu, because it didn't involve money.
Yes.
Yet it was extremely difficult for Michael to get
Michael
it off the
is
ground.
on the brink. He's on the brink of getting that. And we met a couple of times and we had nice conversations about all sorts of things. And it's one point he came with, now he found the solution why Ubuntu works in some communities and in other communities it completely fails. And I told him, don't need to tell me, I know. It's the question whether people are internally in their spiritual setup in the state of abundance, or if they internally are in the state of scarcity. And you can't build a system that will bring people that are internally in scarcity into abundance. It doesn't work. And if people internally are in abundance, you can build any system around that. It doesn't make a difference. They will create abundance. And I experienced this in my own life. Like it started when I left Norway, which was in 2012. I actually returned into a life with no perspective. I had a job, it ended last month, was not even paid because they went broke as a company. So I arrived in Berlin with the last liter of fuel in my tank and the last euro in my pocket and had no idea what to do. The only thing before I left, I found that book, The Sun Thieves by Cara St. Louis, still St. Louis Farrelly back then. I tried to read it because I was interested in the topic and I couldn't read that English. It was too sophisticated for me. So I made that decision. Once I'm at home, I'm going to take my time to translate that book page by page because I have the feeling I need to understand the content. It was a novel, so it was a long read till you get to the facts I wanted to know. But I knew I have to translate that novel for myself because I need to know the facts hidden in that. And I was 3 days in Berlin, and I get a phone call from a book edition lady, the editor, asking me, she's looking for a translator, if I would feel like translating that book into German for her as a paid job. Same title. Zero contact. I didn't know her before. She didn't know me. It was coming around with some friends we have in common that they suggested my name without even knowing that I've been in Norway or that I was coming back. It was just like randomly.
Godsend.
And she managed to catch me. And this is where I realized, if I decide that I want to do what I want to do, and I share what I have kind of in abundance, because this is my gift, the universe is supplying me back. And since then, I trust that. And miracles keep happening. Like in a row, absolutely reliably. I always exactly have what I need. And this is abundance. Abundance is not having more than you need. Abundance is exactly getting what you need on the spot. Because everything else, everything that comes kind of to be stored somewhere is already scarcity again. And it just takes resources away from others. And this is how it works. It's easy. And it's an internal state. It's not an external. It's not a structure. It's not a concept of society. It's abundance in your heart.
We have had scarcity programmed into us, and it does take it takes some doing to get out of it. That's for sure. I don't
Actually, some scarcity is caused by an abundance. An abundance of stuff, and maintaining it and keeping it and protecting it and having a place for it costs more. So just maintaining abundance causes scarcity.
I think I would use a different term than abundance. Yeah.
Abundance is the feeling not of having, it's the feeling of letting flow. This is abundance.
Okay.
If you are in scarcity, you're afraid not to have enough tomorrow. So you keep grabbing things you might need tomorrow. And this creates scarcity for others. So it's a self-strengthening cybernetic cycle where you believe you don't have enough, so you take more than you need. By taking more than you need, you create scarcity for others, which is strengthening their belief that scarcity does exist. You can easily turn that cycle around. If I let go of everything I have, if I donate my gifts to everybody else for free. I don't demand money for any of my services. I just do what I want to do because this is my gift to humanity. And I don't keep holding on to anything. Then everything flows from me, and according to the law of resonance, everything I need flows to me. So it's not about having something kept in the back for later. This is scarcity. Being rich is scarcity, not abundance. Abundance is giving freely. And there are tricks to it. For example, if you are in this mode and you meet somebody that takes in greed, and at a certain point, because this other one, you keep supplying things to him and services to him and attention to him, doesn't stop to be this greedy. You lose your joy in giving because of his greed. And then abundance is killed. Suddenly nothing flows back because you lost your joy in giving. So now nobody else has joy when giving to you. Normally what people do is they stop. They stop giving in joy. So this is more like it works. It's the trusting the flow. This is abundance. Trusting the universe that if I flow, it flows back to me. And normally the amount, and this is why it's called abundance, the amount of what flows triples. If I give 1, I receive 3.
I've noticed that.
Then it's kind of self-accelerating, and it's getting more and more and more and more and more. but only more and more and more according to the responsibility you want to carry. So I'm a big friend not of ownership, but of responsibilityship. If somebody takes care of something, it should be considered his. So you can grow according to your ability to maintain. So if you're the big organizer that can host a community of 200 people, you should own all the buildings and take care of them. And the other one should be your guests. If you're not that type, you shouldn't possess a big building. Doesn't make sense. So this is how I understand how abundance flows. And you can get really, really funny situations when people get that wrong. Like I remember somebody I worked for half a year. He founded the Change Agency. He wanted to turn the planet into a better place. And the system he wanted to spread was named the Abundant Flow System. And he had all the theory in his head, and he had a crew of really highly intelligent people around him that were into all the different things like aquaponics and vertical gardening and whatever not, I don't know.
Permaculture,
And
stuff like that.
And he had a hell of a money in his background. And I managed to get him a workspace and living space in Berlin where he could host his intelligent crew, like in a comic, with all these weirdos with special talents. But he was too clumsy to buy some oil for the central heating of that place. So at a certain point, we were all sitting there at 3 to 4 degrees Celsius in that building, freezing our asses off. The guy that was brought in by me to develop free energy technologies couldn't do his job because he had this urgent duty to turn some microwave ovens into free energy heating systems to avoid buying oil. And while we were sitting there discussing the abundant flow system, we poisoned ourselves with leaking microwave radiation from these improvised free energy devices to heat up the room a little bit. And my system was breaking down under the microwave. And they were still discussing abundance. And I really went like, could you just fucking buy some 1,000 liters of oil to get some heating into this building? It's rented out. It's got water pipes. If we go another 3 degrees lower below zero, all the pipes will burst and somebody else is going to pay a lot for the damage you caused here because you're too clumsy to buy that fucking heating, to pay for that fucking heating. And I really freaked out with the guy. And that was the end of our collaboration. But you could clearly see how he was dreaming of abundance. And instead of being abundant, he was projecting his own scarcity into the world and trying to find a solution to his misery by saving everybody else. And this is exactly how it does not work. It works when we get the abundance into ourselves, get the flow into motion in ourselves, start to share in love what we have to share without asking for anything to come back, to allow it to flow in triangles. I give to person A, person B gives back to me. It doesn't matter. There doesn't need to be a balance. It just needs to flow. And this is the divine. This is nothing. And this is the satanic game on this planet, replacing the law of karma with the legal system, replacing the abundant flow that is always and everywhere in the universe by our clumsy, scarcity-driven monetary system. So it's our decision in what we buy into. If we buy into the monetary system, we live in scarcity. If we buy into legal issues, we live in jail. And there's no big difference between inside the jail or outside the jail. We are completely limited in our expression by the legal system.
Yes.
Inside jail is just a little tougher, a little bit more protected as well because you get something to eat, yeah, but a little bit tougher in the restrictions. But we're not far from leveling this, that inside jail or outside jail is no big difference anymore because we buy into the legal system instead of trusting the divine. If we
Yeah,
pull away
I
all
hate the
our
legal system.
attention from the legal system, if we pull away all our attention from the monetary system, just by declaring it internally, marking it, understanding it as non-existing. It's something apparently other people do, but it doesn't concern me. This is the state of distance we need. And instead of putting our attention to those satanic systems, put our attention to the divine system, which is the abundant flow and the karmic laws of resonance and attraction. If we 100% give ourselves into a trust into this natural law, we create a different universe around us automatically by
That's
the
what
law
we
of
want.
resonance.
That's what I want to see happen. I just don't know how to motivate people and make the best decisions.
No. This is exactly the trap.
That's the
This
trap.
is
The
what
people have
you
to do it
want to
themselves,
see
right?
around you. If you want, no, you have to do it yourself. You completely, with every single sentence, you exclude yourself always. In all the talks we had, it's always the other ones who are supposed to do it. And you're the ones to bring healing. It doesn't work that way. If you want healing, heal yourself. And the other ones then will heal themselves as well. You can't solve an issue by telling somebody else how to solve it. It does not work that way. You can solve an
Well, I
issue
don't.
by
I don't
solving
usually
it
try to
yourself for
tell.
yourself.
Yeah, I don't try to tell. I try to bring information forward that will help people and help myself. I'm not going to, deny that fact. I'm learning
No,
just like
it's not even with the self, it's not about helping. With the self, it's about decision. Information doesn't help you to do something right. What it needs is the decision to do it right and the actual action doing it right. This is the only two things that make a difference. Deciding and acting. Deciding and acting. Feeling yourself, understanding yourself, realizing what's wrong about yourself, where you're still caught with this. And if you still feel the addiction to money in yourself, leave $100 with the next beggar that is crossing your path just to cure yourself, not because of him. Just to teach yourself how it feels like when things flow. So it's all in you, all about you, and the only solution you can deliver is in yourself, for yourself. And when you've done that, and then you are invited to talk to other people, people get curious. Wow, how does that work? And you share your story, then you are a source of inspiration that ignites things you've never imagined before you would be able to do. Because it's not you knowing how it should be done, it's because you being the one that did it and that can deliver the blueprint of everything needed, delivering the blueprint of how does it feel like understanding that I'm ended up in a black magic mess. How did it feel to understand what actually divinity means and how it should like? How does it feel making the painful decisions to get out of the darkness into the light? How did the process feel? What thoughts did I have? What techniques did I use? And when you talk about these things, like I did that in the other part of the interview or the other interview when I shared how it felt like to make that core decision returning home, and I was in tears. This is what we can share, the emotional signature of how it feels like to heal ourselves, of how the processes we need to go to feel like, of how beautiful the space beyond feels like, what relief can be achieved if we let go from dark things. And if we just have people who tell the other people what to do, nothing is done. Literally zero. And everybody who hasn't done things should just step back and be quiet, because it's a waste of attention. It's all energy game of who gets whose attention to suck the little last jewel of life force out of the one who listens. It's
I think
not more than that.
I think I intuitively got the answer that Gail was looking for when she said that before was, and the answer was just three simple words: lead by example. You want to get people
Yeah.
to be able to fix what's going on with them and to live abundantly. And I'm sorry about that. My phones go crazy, even if I shut them off. But the answer to the question that she was looking for was simply lead by example and fix your own house. And then everybody else will see what you did and they will want the same for themselves.
I'm not really trying to lead
It's
anybody anywhere. I'm just putting, have people on like you, Harold, because you can share that experience.
this is why I'm following your invitation. It's just like the way you communicate with me. I can feel that this cycle of other responsibility, that the other people need to do something to get relief from mankind. It's coming up again and again and again on all sorts of topics. So I can see that in you, there's a cycle caught in a loop that reappears. And it's not that I dislike you, or it's not that I judge
Hope
that
not.
this comes up. It's beautiful that it comes up. But once it's coming up in a repetitive pattern, I feel the impulse, the need to deliver some energy to you, to break through. It's a cycle, and internally you seem to be caught in that cycle, and I just feel the impulse to add some energy to your system so that you can have a push of energy internally to make your thinking, your reasoning, your feeling jump out of that cycle into a realization why it's caught in a loop. This is why I'm a bit pressuring you or getting intense in the way I speak. From my end, it's meant, and it feels like this love contribution into your direction to help you out of that loop. Just that you don't get me wrong, like judging you for something that you do wrong. I just feel that cycle. I remember myself being in that cycle for years, and I remember how fruitless it was circulating there. Fruitless, not for me. I had my insights, I had my learning time, I gathered data about the universe, life, and myself. So it was okay, but it was pointless for the others, because all they could grab from me was how it looks like when a guy is looping. I had nothing more to give. Yes, information, data I could share, scientifically understanding things, but this is not what it needs. If you make a decision on soul level, the information, the data, the things you need to know to make a step, they just jump into your face. This is a service. The service is free in the universe. It's the decision that is the crucial point.
I think that's why Gail does what she does. She works very, very hard finding valuable guests with information, with life experience that people really, really, really need to know, and she brings that to them. And it's just a function of her generous spirit that makes this show possible.
I I 100% value that aspect. But you were now asking for yourself, and you were now speaking for yourself in that point when you said, "What can I do to make people uh, process this thing?" Your entire reasoning and question marks I could see in you um, actually were on a different focus at that point. And this is kind of, I bring this what I consider to be my gift. I bring this to your entire audience. Of course, I want to bring it to you as well. You are standing for your audience. When I say I can see you being in a loop, in reality, I address all the listeners who are going exactly through the same thoughts as you. And this is the big gift of a moderator or an interviewer, to represent his listeners. But I can't address them because I've got you in front of me. So if I see things coming up in the conversation that I can address as being looping, I need to address them.
Hmm.
And it's in the same way for the sake of your audience and for your sake as well.
Hmm.
Especially when I see those loops popping up
Hmm.
again and again and again and again. Yes, I mean, you already said in another context, there are meditations to be able to do inner work. You immediately said, yes, I'm going to have a look at them. So I don't consider you to be somebody who's not doing it. I could see that you are the one to go for also personal development and growth.
I'm
But
working at
but
it. I,
but
I'm working
still
at it. I'm not
this
there yet, but I'm working on it.
yeah, but still this other responsible loop popped in every now and then. So I just felt the need to address it.
It's
So
okay. That's fine.
because it's a good example how it feels like when it pops up. And 99% of the people I know completely function in this line of other responsible loops. They see a problem, they wind their mind around the answer. Who could solve that problem? They never relate the problem they see to themselves. It's always somebody else who's responsible. This is how the minds work. And the reality
Hmm.
is exactly the other way around. If there's something wrong with the world, um,
Well, I would
the
be lying
question
if I
comes up.
said that I didn't do this for myself as well, because I learn from others, and I appreciate that.
Yes. And this is the best thing you can do. Much better than trying to save others.
Well, I firmly believe they have to save themselves. All you can do is present a lot of tools and whatever
Yeah.
experience you've had,
Yes, this is exactly the approach.
and they can either do something with it or not. It's entirely up to them. Just like it's entirely up to me to take care of my own garbage. So,
No, it's don't devalue yourself. It's your experience. And whether it's dark or light or distorted, if it's distorted, it needs to be put into harmony again. It's your experience. And once we are through our experiences, it's just like jewels of the soul. It's something we will carry for the rest of our incarnations into eternity, our experience, the path we took to grow. It's unique. And we carry this uniqueness as a gift in us once we're done. So there's no reason to devalue anything.
Well, yeah, I can be my own worst critic. There's no doubt about that. But anyway, it's getting misty-eyed now.
Okay. Shall we call it a day?
I think so.
I think that was kind of the third recording you can split off. So now we have
Yeah, we
two
can,
shows
you know,
in
piece it
one.
together. Yeah, that would be good. Make it like 3 parts.
I think we covered like 3
Everything.
major topics, so we could
Yes,
split
yes,
it
yes.
into 3
Cut
pieces.
it in 3. Doesn't make
Yeah.
sense.
That'll work. It just
Let's
means
see.
that I've got more voiceovers to do and more animations. It's okay. It's not a big deal. I don't have anything else to do. So,
That's what you're good at, though, Paul. You're very good at that. Sort of thing.
If you just make like 3 parts, cut it into 3 pieces, make 1, 2, 3, so that nobody misses an introduction on the second and the third one, it should be fine as well. We have beautiful points to jump in and out because we have
Transition,
clear
yeah.
cuts in between the topics. So
I should be pausing it right now. Hello, everyone. This is Gail of Gaia. I'm the founder and producer of Free Range. I do my best to bring you the best in guests and information that's very relevant to you today. I'm making this short little clip today in order to ask you to please contribute to the channel. I'm not monetized by YouTube. I don't sell any products, and I don't have Patreon. So I depend upon your contributions. And I know everyone's having a tough time, but even a small amount from a number of people would help tremendously. So thank you. Please contribute. And again, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I do need your help. Thank you.
thank you for joining us for this Free Range with Gail of Gaia program featuring Harald Kautz. I think we talked about enough topics. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you.
This Free Range Productions program is presented for information purposes only. The opinions expressed may not necessarily reflect the opinions of the hosts, Free Range Productions, its principal supporters, or staff. Viewers are directed to use their own research and discernment with respect to any information presented here.